When 28-year-old Emily Torres first saw the stray dog digging furiously in her backyard, she had no idea she was witnessing the first clue to a mystery that would completely transform her life. The dog returned to the same exact spot every single night. What it eventually uncovered would change everything. Emily had been struggling for months. After her divorce, she found herself a single mother with barely enough money to cover rent and groceries for her 6-year-old daughter, Sophia. "Mom, when are we going to have our own house again?" Sophia asked one evening as they sat in their cramped apartment. Emily forced a smile. "Soon, sweetheart. I promise." But Emily wasn't sure how she could keep that promise. The cheap apartment they had been living in was scheduled for demolition. Finding affordable housing seemed impossible. That's when she discovered the listing online. A small house on the outskirts of town, available for an almost unbelievable price. The photos showed a rundown property with peeling paint and overgrown grass, but to Emily, it looked like salvation. "Why is it so cheap?" she asked the landlord, a tired-looking man in his 60s named Mr. Rodriguez. He shrugged. "It's been empty for years. The owner died with no family. The city is handling the rental to cover property taxes until they figure out what to do with it." "How long has it been empty?" Emily asked. "Oh, about 3 years now. Maybe 4. Time flies when you're dealing with paperwork." Emily didn't hesitate. She signed the lease that afternoon. The house was worse than the photos suggested. The kitchen faucet dripped constantly, echoing through the quiet rooms. The floorboards creaked with every step, telling stories of years of neglect. The windows were so old they rattled in their frames when the wind blew. "It's scary, Mom," Sophia whispered as they carried their few belongings inside. "It's just old, honey. Old houses make noises. But it's our home for now." It was true. Sophia had her own room for the first time in months. Emily had space to breathe, to think, to rebuild their life. The first 2 nights were peaceful. Emily began to feel hopeful. Maybe things were finally looking up. It was on their 3rd night in the house that Emily first saw the dog. She was washing dishes after dinner when she heard scratching sounds coming from the backyard. Through the window, she saw a dog with black fur digging frantically near the old oak tree. "What in the world?" Emily muttered. The dog's paws moved with desperate determination. Dirt flew in all directions. The animal seemed completely focused on its task. "Shoo!" Emily called out, tapping on the glass. "Go home!" The dog looked up briefly. Its brown eyes met hers through the window. Then it returned to its digging with even more intensity. Emily went outside and clapped her hands. "Get out of here! This is private property!" The dog backed away but didn't leave. It sat at the edge of the yard, watching her with intelligent brown eyes. It tilted its head slightly, as if trying to understand why she was upset. "Go on! Shoo!" Emily waved her arms. The dog stood up slowly. It took a few steps toward the street, then stopped and looked back at her. Its expression seemed almost apologetic. "That's right, keep going," Emily said firmly. But the dog didn't keep going. It waited at the edge of the yard until Emily went back inside. Then it returned to its digging. The next morning, Emily found a hole nearly 2 feet deep in the exact same spot. "What the heck?" she said, staring at the mess. Sophia came outside to see what was wrong. "Whoa! What happened here?" "A dog," Emily said. "A very determined dog. She spent an hour filling the hole with dirt from other parts of the yard. The grass was already dead anyway, so it didn't matter much. But the effort was exhausting. There, Emily said, patting down the last bit of soil. That should teach him. It didn't teach him anything. That evening, the dog was back. The scratching sounds started around sunset. Emily watched from the kitchen window as the animal dug out every bit of dirt she had put back. "You've got to be kidding me," she said.
"The doggy's back!"
Sophia called from the living room.
"I can hear that."
This pattern continued for weeks. Every night, the dog would return. Every morning, Emily would find the hole deeper. She tried filling it with dirt, but the dog would simply dig it out again. "Mom, why doesn't the doggy have a home?" Sophia asked one evening as they watched the dog through the window. Emily studied the animal more carefully. It was thin but not skeletal. Its coat was matted but not diseased. It moved with purpose, not the random wandering of a lost pet. "I don't know, sweetheart," Emily said. "Maybe it's looking for something." "What could it be looking for?" "I have no idea." The dog's persistence was both frustrating and mysterious. It never barked. It never caused any other damage to the yard. It simply dug in that one spot, with single-minded determination. "Maybe it buried a bone there," Sophia suggested. "Maybe," Emily said. But she didn't think it was a bone. The dog's behavior was too intense, too focused. This wasn't playful digging. This was work. After 3 weeks of this nightly ritual, Emily made a decision that would change everything. "I'm going to talk to him," she announced to Sophia. "Talk to who?" "The dog. Maybe if I'm nice to him, he'll tell me what he wants." Sophia giggled. "Dogs can't talk, Mom." "You'd be surprised what dogs can communicate if you pay attention." That evening, Emily stepped into the backyard as the dog began his usual routine. "Come here, boy," she called softly. The dog stopped digging and looked at her warily. He had learned to expect her to chase him away. Emily knelt down and extended her hand. "It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you." The dog approached slowly, sniffing her fingers before allowing her to pet his matted fur. Despite his rough appearance, he was gentle and calm. "You're not just any stray, are you?" Emily whispered. "You're on a mission." The dog's tail wagged slightly. It was the first time she had seen him show any emotion other than determination. "What's your name, boy? Do you have a name?" The dog tilted his head, as if considering the question. "I'll call you Scout," Emily said. "Because you're scouting for something." From that moment, the dog became part of their family. Sophia was thrilled to have a pet, even if he was only visiting. "Can Scout come inside?" Sophia asked. "Not yet," Emily said. "He's still working on his project." But Scout's digging didn't stop. If anything, it became more intense. He would spend hours each night working on the hole, which was now nearly 3 feet deep and growing wider. Emily began to worry about what the neighbors might think. She was already self-conscious about the rundown state of the property. A giant hole in the backyard would only draw more negative attention. "Scout, what are you looking for?" she asked one night as she watched him work. The dog paused and looked at her with those intelligent eyes. He seemed to be trying to communicate something important. That's when Emily noticed something strange. Scout only dug during dry weather. On rainy nights, he would sit by the kitchen window, watching the backyard with an almost human-like expression of worry. "Look at him," Sophia said during one rainy evening. "He looks sad." Emily studied Scout's face. Sophia was right. The dog did look sad. Worried, even. It's like he's protecting something in that hole, Emily said. Protecting it from the rain. The next morning, Emily found Scout sitting by the hole, which had filled with muddy water overnight. He looked miserable. "Oh, Scout," Emily said. "Is this what you're worried about?" She got a bucket and spent an hour scooping water out of the hole. Scout watched every move she made, his tail wagging with gratitude. Emily began to feel differently about Scout's obsession. This wasn't random behavior. This was intentional. Purposeful. She started leaving a small tarp over the hole on rainy nights. Scout would sit beside it like a guard dog, refusing to come inside no matter how hard the storm. "He's protecting his work," Emily explained to Sophia. "Like when you cover your artwork so it doesn't get ruined." "But what's he making?" "I don't know. But it's important to him." One particularly wet Thursday evening, as rain hammered against the windows, Emily made a decision that would change everything. "Sophia, put on your raincoat," she said. "We're going to help Scout." "Help him do what, Mom?" "Find what he's looking for." Sophia's eyes lit up.
Really?
"Really. I think it's time we became part of his team." They grabbed flashlights and headed into the backyard. Scout was sitting by the tarp-covered hole, his fur soaked but his position unchanged. "Okay, boy," Emily said, pulling away the tarp. "Show me what's so important." Scout immediately jumped into the hole and began digging with renewed energy. Mud splattered everywhere, but he didn't care. Emily knelt beside him, using her hands to help move the muddy soil. The rain made everything slippery and difficult, but she pressed on. Sophia held the flashlight, creating a circle of light in the darkness.
This is like a treasure hunt,
Sophia said excitedly. It might be, Emily said, though she had no idea what kind of treasure they might find. After 20 minutes of digging, Emily's fingers hit something hard. Something that didn't belong in the ground. I found something, she whispered. Scout stopped digging immediately. He sat perfectly still, watching as Emily carefully brushed away the mud. What is it? Sophia asked, leaning closer. With trembling hands, Emily revealed a corner of what looked like a metal box. It's some kind of container, she said. Scout's tail wagged furiously. This was it. This was what he had been searching for. How did you know this was here? Emily asked the dog. Scout tilted his head, as if to say, I just knew. Before we continue, don't forget to like the video and subscribe, it really helps the channel grow. The box was about the size of a shoebox, made of weathered metal with a simple latch. Despite being buried for years, it was in remarkably good condition. Emily lifted it from the hole with shaking hands. It was heavier than she expected, and something inside shifted when she moved it. What is it, Mom? Sophia whispered. I don't know, sweetheart. But Scout sure did. They brought the box inside, dripping mud across the kitchen floor. Emily carefully cleaned the mud from its surface while Scout watched anxiously. Should we open it? Sophia asked. Emily looked at Scout. What do you think, boy? Is it okay to open it? Scout's tail wagged once, as if giving permission. There were no identifying marks on the box, no indication of what it might contain. With Scout sitting attentively beside them, Emily opened the latch. The hinges creaked as the lid lifted. Inside, wrapped in plastic bags, were several items that made her heart race. Oh my gosh, Emily breathed. First, there was a stack of handwritten letters tied with a faded blue ribbon. The paper was yellowed with age, but the ink was still clear. Second, there was a small velvet box containing a simple gold wedding ring. Third, and most shocking of all, there was an official-looking document with the word deed printed at the top. "What's a deed?" Sophia asked. "It's a paper that shows who owns a house," Emily said, her voice barely above a whisper. Her hands trembled as she carefully unfolded the first letter. It was dated 5 years ago, and the handwriting was careful and precise. "If you are reading this, then my plan worked," the letter began. "My name is Henry Watson, and I was the owner of the house you perhaps now live in. I have no family, no children, no one to leave my home to when I die. But I believe that home should be lived in, loved in, filled with laughter and hope." Emily's heart raced as she read the next paragraph. "I am dying. The doctors say I have maybe 6 months. I bought this house 43 years ago, dreaming of filling it with a wife and children. That dream never came true. My fiancé left me for someone else. I remained a bachelor my whole life, working as a teacher, living quietly, watching other families through my windows." "Mom, what does it say?" Sophia asked. "A man named Henry used to live here. He was lonely and sad because he didn't have a family." The letter continued, and with each word, Emily felt the story of a lonely man's life unfold. "I'm burying this box in the backyard. Inside, you'll find the deed to my house, and my final will. I know it may seem strange, but I believe that if someone is meant to find this, they will. The house has been empty since I moved to the nursing home. The city is handling the rental until they figure out what to do with it. But the deed and my will are valid. I never sold the house. I never transferred ownership." "What does that mean?" Sophia asked. "I think it means Henry wanted to give his house to a family who would take care of it." There were more letters, each one revealing more of Henry's story. He had been a kind man, a patient teacher, someone who had spent his life helping others even though he had no family of his own. One letter described his daily routine. "I wake up every morning and make coffee for one. I eat breakfast alone. I read the newspaper and wonder what it would be like to share the funny comics with someone. I go to work and teach children who have families waiting for them at home. I come home to an empty house and wonder if I made the right choices in life." Another letter talked about his dreams. "I always imagined this house full of children's laughter. I pictured birthday parties in the backyard, Christmas mornings with presents under the tree, summer barbecues with neighbors and friends. But dreams don't always come true the way we plan them." Emily's hands shook as she read the final letter. "I know this may seem impossible, but I believe in signs. I believe that the right family will find this box when they're meant to. I've arranged for everything to be legal. The will is valid. The house is yours if you want it. Take care of it. Fill it with love and laughter. Make it the home I always dreamed it could be." Emily looked at the deed with disbelief. Henry's name was clearly written as the owner. The property address matched exactly.
"But how is this possible?"
she asked aloud. Scout wagged his tail, as if he knew the answer but couldn't explain it. "Mom, does this mean we own the house now?" Sophia asked. I don't know. Maybe. This is all very strange." Emily studied the deed and will more carefully. It was dated 5 years ago, just as Henry had said in his letter. All the legal language was there, all the proper signatures and stamps. But the biggest mystery remained: how had Scout known where to dig? "How did you know about this box?" Emily asked the dog. Scout tilted his head and wagged his tail, but offered no explanation. "Maybe he smelled it," Sophia suggested. "Maybe," Emily said. but the box had been buried for years. How could any dog smell something that deep underground? Unless... Scout, did you know Henry? Emily asked. The dog's ears perked up at the name. His tail wagged faster. You did know him, didn't you? The truth might be simpler than Emily imagined. Maybe Scout had simply been drawn to this place by instinct. Maybe he had sensed something important buried in the yard. Or maybe, just maybe, some mysteries are meant to remain mysterious. The next morning, Emily called a lawyer. The deed was indeed valid. Through a legal process that took several months, she was able to claim ownership of the house. This is highly unusual, the lawyer said. But everything appears to be in order. The will is legitimate, the burial of the box was clearly intentional, and you found it on the property you were renting. The back taxes were minimal. The paperwork was complex but straightforward. By the end of the year, Emily owned the home outright. No more rent. No more worrying about eviction. No more sleepless nights wondering how she would provide for Sophia. We really own it? Sophia asked on the day the papers were finalized. We really own it, Emily said, hugging her daughter tight. Scout never dug another hole. His mission was complete. He had found his family.
Can Scout live inside now?
Sophia asked. I think he's earned it, Emily said. They gave Scout a bath, bought him a collar and dog food, and officially adopted him. He settled into family life as if he had always belonged there. Years later, when people asked Emily about the incredible story of how she came to own her house, she would always end with the same words: sometimes the greatest treasures are found not by those who seek them, but by those who are chosen to receive them. What would you do if you were Emily? Would you chase away a dog digging a hole in your yard? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss more amazing stories.